Hey guys, and welcome back to Mental Dive. It has been a while since I've uploaded some content, and my apologies, but other things in life have escalated, so I've had to put my efforts elsewhere to get those things back on track. But which kind of led me the inspiration for this post and for this video that correlates with it. The post is called Rest, and it kind of answers the question of sometimes I especially get the feeling, and I know a lot of other people do, of if you're doing enough, like you just get that feeling. You just get that feeling sometimes of why do you feel like you're not doing enough? And even though you are, like I've kind of noticed that a lot of people that are super productive and get a lot of things done, those are often the ones that feel like they're not doing enough. And I see it a lot in young people. So we're going to talk about it. As always, my name is Chris, and let me get myself off the screen here. And we will get to talking. How to know if you're doing enough. Alrighty. So the first thing we talk about is, honestly, everything's good in life. Like your relationship's fine, your family's fine, you're in good health, everything's good at work, but you still just sometimes feel like you're not doing enough. So let's dive into it. The first thing we can talk about is a lot of outside sources that could be causing you to feel this way of not feeling enough. So as always, you can always crack open your phone, get on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, especially nowadays since everyone is home more often than normal. And you just see about all the amazing things that people are doing or all the things that people have, or you just get very overwhelmed by all the information on social media of other people that seems like they're living these gorgeous lives, and you're just wondering what the heck, and then you wonder why isn't that me, and then it could take you away. It can make you not think about your own progress and your own accomplishments you're trying to fulfill. So it's a lot of input on the brain here. And then eventually that leads to you getting a little overheated and you just maybe disregard your own progress. And that's where I think the source of the feeling of not feeling good enough is, when maybe other sources take your thoughts away from your own progresses that you're trying to make for your own accomplishments. And maybe that's where it comes from. This is all, again, in my opinion. So next, let's start with an example. So say you want to be a world-class juggler, really into juggling. So this was you 2 weeks ago. You're up to 3 balls. Awesome. You today, you're up to 5 balls. Heck yeah, made progress. But then your buddy Jim over here, who saw you were juggling and was like, I want to get into that. He just started. He can already do what, 2, 4, 6, 7 balls. And now you're just heated at Jim. You totally disregard your own progress that you went from 3 to 5. But since Jim just started with 7, now you're upset with Jim. And you totally disregard your own progress. And I find myself doing this a lot, and it's not a good habit. Like I'm into road biking now because I'm trying to do Ironman size triathlon. And I just made the 60-mile jump to 80-mile jump. That's now the longest ride in miles that I've done on my bike. But my buddy just completed a 100-mile ride. And I was all like, what the heck? I could have probably done 20 more miles, but I totally disregarded my own progress. And that's not great. Let's not get in the habit of doing that. So next, throw some science at you. This is my own little personal progression chart. This is kind of how I think about progression and how you should do it. So say this is progress up here. You got time down here. And this line is your body's physical and mental limit. So say, I'm sure we've all been there, especially if we went to any kind of school, that you're really short on time and you really got to crank something out and you have to make a lot of progress really, really quick. And you go up and you pass this line. If you pass this line, you're going to get burnt out. That's when stress starts coming, and it's just not a good situation. So you might make progress if you just straight flip and gun it, but you're going to be bouncing around, and this is not where you want to be. I've tried to do things this method, and then usually it just ends up you have to start over from scratch again, and you just wasted that time. So if you stay below this line, then you could be here or you could be here. But this is all about your effort level and how consistent you are and getting better at the thing that you want to do. So me, for example, I want to do a full Ironman at the beginning of 2021. And it's been tough. It's been about 15 hours of training each week, but pretty much every day, one rest day. So I believe I'm in this green area if you ask me, but if other people look at my little training schedule, they'll probably think, you're over here in the yellow section 4. But this is long term. If you have huge goals you want to get done, and to consistently make progression at it and not burn yourself out. This is just kind of how I physically look at it. So, yeah. So now let's talk about how many things you're trying to get done. So for me, well, before we talk about this chart, let's talk about really big named people that I don't know if you can mention on YouTube. So we'll just say the guy that started Amazon. So that's one person. That's one person doing one thing extremely well. Or the guy that is the head of SpaceX and Tesla. That's one person doing two things really, really well. So the less things you're trying to do, the more effort you can consistently put into that one thing to get extremely well at it. And for those two really impressive people, maybe their line, instead of it being at this angle, it's more up here. So they can make more progress over time and still not break their physical or mental limits. So this is my 4. These are the 4 things that I'm currently trying to do well right now. And the size of the bubbles are like the amount of effort it takes for me to maintain the consistentness and wellness, in other words, of me just trying hard but not getting burnt out. So the full Ironman in 2021, training for that, that's just the most physically demanding thing. And this is my job. I'm a test engineer. And also I'm trying to grow mental dive. So that is another thing that I really like to do and really like to see take off. And I'm also getting my master's at the moment online through Johns Hopkins. So that are those other 4 things that I'm trying to do really well. And I feel like every human has at least 2, right? You have a family, maybe someone you're trying to take care of, and your source of income, maybe your job. So those are 2 things you're trying to do well. But so now let's talk about, actually get into the weeds of the feeling of why do we sometimes feel like we're not good enough? And personally, I feel like when you get that feeling of, am I good enough? Am I working hard enough? The whole source of that mix of emotions is your body screaming that it's exhausted, but your mind kind of saying, shut up, keep going. And the reason that you even get that feeling of, am I doing good enough? That alone, I think 90% of the time means that you're doing more than probably 90% of the people towards the task you're trying to accomplish. And this is something I'm still learning. But when I get that way of, am I good enough? Am I doing enough? That just, for me, it means just rest. You need to rest. You need to step back. You need to recover and then proceed later. Because if you just constantly grind and you constantly put an effort over a long period of time, then the quality of work you produce or the quality of a workout you'll have, it'll slowly decline. And then you don't want that at all. So the whole source of you having that thought is your body's physically exhausted, but your mind is trying to deny it. So I think the best thing to do in that situation is literally just rest and recover. And then if you're recovered, you're more motivated because you rest and you're in a better mood. And also, it's really helpful to put together one of these kind of little charts of, are you doing enough in the thing you want to do? Well, what things are you trying to do? Because if you don't really have a plan, maybe you're more scattered and you have like 10 bubbles and it's really hard to do 10 things really well. So maybe you can narrow it down to 4 things that you're trying to do really well and go from there. But sorry about that. But the post this correlates to is called Rest. I go more in the weeds of actual how to rest and then how to wrap your head around the sources of why you're not feeling good enough. And we explain that it's probably just you're taking in too much information from social media and from the news and overthinking, and you're physically actually making progress on the things you want to make progress on, but just from being in the moment and being kind of a little bit overwhelmed from social media and the news and other sources of content that we absorb, that you disregard your own progress and you wonder why you're not somewhere that's unrealistic for you to be. And you just have to recognize your own progress, and you have to learn to rest and recover. And once I think you understand the source of that why am I not feeling good enough feeling, which I'm still learning to do, then it's much easier to snuff out that emotion. And then you're just a more happy, motivated you, and you can continue knocking out those goals long term. But thank you so much for watching. We have an Instagram now at Mental Dive. And thank y'all so much. My name is Chris once again. And we will catch y'all on the next one.